After Dumas died and I blamed myself for his death, and William had raped me based off of blackmail a few times, I did not want to live anymore. I didn't see a way out of the situation I was in, where I was pregnant and with a man that threatened to throw me into jail if I didn't do as he wished. So I took my rifle and I put it underneath my chin and I tried to kill myself. But I couldn't reach the trigger. And I kept thinking of my baby and how much I wanted them. In Afghanistan, after that point, I went into extreme survival mode. I researched every possible thing I could to get out of the situation that I was in, to make sure that I didn't get thrown into jail and also didn't end up with the man that had this information over me. And it was a very tough line to balance because at any point William could have turned me in, and he threatened to. And if he did say something, I would have lost everything. I would have lost all of my benefits. I would have been NJP'd. I would have been in the brig. He would have taken my baby away from me. All of the stuff that he had threatened. And so I looked at every possible course that I could to get out of it. But I also couldn't go to anyone for help because then I would lose everything. Everything that I had sacrificed for, and I didn't have anywhere to go back to. If I didn't have my Marine Corps career, like, where was I going to go? Back to the hometown that I was told that I needed to leave? The grunts had been out there for this, reacting to whatever had occurred, and someone had stepped on an IED. And Dumas' best friend was pulled out of the vehicles, unable to walk from grief. And there was blood all over his camis. And they sent everyone to the chaplain. And the gunny and I stayed back to clean the vehicles. When Dumas had stepped on the IED, the lower part of his body disintegrated over one of the mat V's. And the vehicles had this cami netting that was all over it. But his blood was everywhere. And as the gunny kept telling me to leave, and he was sobbing, I went and grabbed water bottles and a giant broom because I didn't want the grunts to see the vehicle. So the gunny and I climbed up on it and started pouring water onto where Dumas' body was and taking the broom and scrubbing it. And I pulled out bits of his body from the cami netting and put it in a garbage bag. And the gunny was blaming himself, and I was blaming myself, and every single person in that. Every single person in that command was blaming themselves. His son was born a couple of months later. After that, my mental health was gone. I didn't understand how someone that was so goofy and loved by everyone, why he had to be the one that died when I was the one that actually wanted to die.
My name's Robin Snow. I am the oldest sister of Sergeant Dina Martorella Oriana. I was a little bit surprised about my sister deciding to join the Marines. We kind of came from a small little town where you generally stuck around the small little town you grew up in. What did I think personally about her going to be deployed in Afghanistan? It's always a mix of emotions. I was extremely proud of her. And so when she was deployed, I was proud of her achievements, but obviously on the familiar part, scared for her safety. I think that's just human fears. She told us very little about Afghanistan. She did tell us that she was enjoying her time there. She told us that she felt like she was able to help make a difference. One of her biggest accomplishments, I guess, over there was being part of one of the first female engagement teams that they put over there, one of the first vet teams. And I think that is both what made her career and broke her, because that was really the only information that we ever got, because they compartmentalize as they're supposed to, and obviously so much is classified. But she just said she both loved working with the children, and she would just say, but the children. So that was really hard for her. After she got out of the military, I can only speculate that she used alcohol to forget some things. And so she did have a couple of DUI charges. She went to the VA that morning. She was scheduled for I believe a therapy appointment. Her friend picked her up, and then her friend took her to the house that she was living at with her then boyfriend. They had been going through some stuff, so she hadn't been staying there. She'd been staying with her friend. She was going to pick some stuff up, to meet with him, speak with him, and then that friend was going to pick her back up a couple of hours later. And they had plans for that evening, and they had plans to go to church the next morning. About a half hour after she was dropped off, she had gone into her bedroom and gotten a firearm from her nightstand. And she left a note because she had a little doggie there who she loves very much. We're very grateful that dog is now with my mom. But she left a note for her boyfriend at that time that said, "Don't come into the bedroom. Please take care of Charlie. Just call the police." And she had taken her life. She literally felt this world was better without her. She literally felt as if all she could do to anybody is cause problems. All she could do was drag anybody down. She had nothing to offer the world. That's why most people in that position, everyone, myself included, have a very initial reaction of how selfish it is and how could they do that to their families. But in their messed up reality, they're doing the very best thing that they can imagine for their families. And that's terrible.
My name is Dr. Zachary Parrott. I'm a clinical psychologist and the lead suicide prevention coordinator for the Department of Veterans Affairs VISN 15 region. Why do people resort to suicide? We know that folks, when they've reached the level of suicidality, they often identify this lack of connectedness, or feeling like the weight that they're carrying is way too heavy for not only themselves to help carry, but for those around them. Adding those two things up with the access to lethal means, the access to actually hurt oneself, that's where the combination comes into play. And that's where we find that we're most at risk for somebody who is close to the edge. We know that veterans in particular are at higher risk. With that, the veterans potentially carry more of those significant traumatic factors, bearing and enduring really difficult situations, life circumstances, and it can be tough at times for folks who have been in active duty service to readjust, to find themselves back a part of the community, a part of society, and we're absolutely sure that connectedness and feeling like you can carry your own weight is a huge part of somebody's risk factor for suicidality. One of my most impactful experiences since I've been in suicide prevention care came from a late night diner call. There was a waitress at a late night diner just doing her job, serving food, serving customers. She had sparked up a conversation with somebody across the table. Noticed that he wasn't doing all that well, but took it upon herself to have a bit of a conversation, have that caring conversation. Found out that he was a veteran, found out that he actually needed some assistance, and took it upon herself to call the Veterans Crisis Line for him on his behalf, and was able to get him connected to his local VA, where he's doing well with additional services and much different life circumstances. But it took that one bit of caring that anybody can do to reach out, to show somebody that they care, and to get folks further down the road.
I would say stay diligent. It's okay to be annoying. It's okay to make sure that they know that there is somebody there that cares for them no matter what, through their problems, through their issues, through whatever they're dealing with. It's okay to make sure that they're really okay, because you know your family member and you know when they've changed. I would say to the other families that have lost service members, don't let it be in vain and don't live in anger. Make it worth something. Help stop the stigma and be a part of the change. That's all we can do at this point. We can't change what's happened, but we can help grow the future.
When I had the barrel of the M16 underneath my chin, I didn't think that I had a choice in how I could live my life, because I didn't have an education, I didn't have money, I didn't have people that I could trust, I didn't have a family. Now I have all of those things, and I don't feel like people can force me to move in any direction that I don't want to move in, which is extreme freedom. And I think the moving past survivor's guilt is realizing that we can't go back and change small things. They did die, and they wouldn't want you to sit there and wish that you were dead instead of them. They want you to live your life. They want you to go enjoy the sun on your face, go enjoy playing with your kids. They want you to live your life. I want people to know that there can be a time that they can break away from the person that they might not like about themselves and become at peace with themselves. There is a way.
Hey.